meeting with roll call.
Kim O'Connell.
Here.
Sharon Kelly.
Here.
Tracy LeBlanc.
Here.
Doug Rowdy.
Here.
Pamela Garvey.
Here.
And Justin Wood.
Here.
Everybody's here today.
Everybody's here.
Hey,
Approval of the agenda.
I'll make a motion.
Trace, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second. The only change is we probably don't need an update, number 7. He said he's good. That we'll put that to the next meeting. So we'll just strike 7 for now.
Okay.
So with that, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Approval of our minutes from the May 7th.
I make a motion to approve.
We have a second.
Second.
Hearing no changes or anything, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, the minute. Public comment. We did get one sent to us. The Bone Lake Management District, did that get to everybody?
Yes.
Everybody got it? Okay, so we got that one. Okay. And no one else is here. Okay, we have no supervisor here also, do we? So the annual reports already. Here we go.
We handed those out last week and there's just wanted to give you, or last meeting, sorry, and give the opportunity for the board to review them if there were any questions. Unfortunately, Eric isn't here today. So if there's questions on land and water resources report, we might defer that. But if there's any, we can always do it via email as well. But were there any questions on any of the annual reports for 2024?
Anybody else have any?
I did, and of course it was for Eric, but that's okay.
Oh.
And unless I missed it. So just curious as far as the letters of non-compliance on stormwater erosion control. What did those end up getting resolved? And it's okay if it's just a question for Eric. That's all. I just thought, they sent this many letters of non-compliance. I was just curious on kind of how did that?
I think for the most part, some of them did get resolved, but I think there might be a few pending, at least one pending for sure.
Okay.
Up in Clam Falls. No, all good, thank you. But
Mr. Olson's farm, yeah, up there.
no. Yeah, I can get some more information.
Again, it was just a matter of, as I'm looking through it and thinking about it, I'm just curious as far as how much struggles there are. If that's the word.
Okay,
If you want, we can put that on the next and ask them. If not, okay. The fee schedule,
oh, okay. We're up.
we're up.
So also I passed out the previous fee schedule. You guys did already act on land and water resources, and register of deeds had some minor changes as well. This is the land information fee schedule, a little bit revised with some ready for change, let's say. Would you pass one of these back to Madam Clerk, please? And then I guess I'll just point out the things highlighted in red to start with at this point. We have not changed any of the fee schedule from 2024 numbers. The items in red that you'll see, Logan, did you want to mention anything on those, or do you just want me to go through them, or how would you like to do it?
Talk about those. Just wanted to bring up decks. So in the past, they were done as an addition to a dwelling, but we don't really consider them an addition to a dwelling, so that they then went to accessory structures, which is $100 fee, so they're in the same as retaining walls and walkways. I didn't know if that wanted to be separate from those, just have a deck fee. I did look around at some other fee schedules. It's done a few different ways. Some people do it by square footage for just accessory structures. Some people leave it as an accessory structure, and it is with retaining walls and walkways and things like that. But I guess, just wanted to at least put it on here under there, so that's clear. But then if you guys felt the fee needed to change at all, just to bring that up as a
So
point.
it's actually less than.
It did, yeah, because I mean, if someone came in for a 12 by 12 deck off their dwelling, it would have, I mean, not as in before, like
Yeah,
2 years ago or a year and a half ago or whatever. It would be a $320 permit for a 12 by 12 deck coming
Yeah.
off the dwelling. And as far as our definitions and everything, I felt that those should be considered accessory structures, not additions to a dwelling. So then it dropped to 100. So I mean, it was quite a big drop. But I didn't know if we wanted to specifically just do decks or just leave them in there. I did have a document that I just threw together quick.
Claire, there's a document.
Should be.
you probably get more at 100 than at 320 coming in. If they would try to just do it without,
So
Yeah, right there.
Without even getting.
And it may be pretty small. So like this is, Burnett County has decks, stairs, patios, retaining walls, which those are all accessory structures. They have that as $125. Sawyer County has accessory structures, then they break it down into all these different sizes, which we don't do for anything else. So I don't know if that's probably not the best way, because some people do that for dwellings, accessory structures, everything. But just to show you guys kind of the variety and fee, but this would also be for
storage.
decks, porches, patios, combined garage sheds, so they have all theirs together. St. Croix County, I'm not completely sure, but from the fee schedule, it just looked like they have a shoreland overlay permit and it's $400 just for a shoreland permit, whatever it is, as far as I can tell.
Sure.
And then if we could go down, and I think there's one more. Washburn County has it the same as Burnett County, where deck, stairs, pathway, walkway, retaining wall, fire pit, and other structures, they have it at $150 for a permit. So just to kind of show, I mean, I don't know if it can definitely, I think, stay at 100, but I don't know if you guys had any
Good starting
thoughts on
point.
that, but
It seems to make more sense in that grouping that.
yeah, for sure.
So for clarity purposes, Logan, I get a lot of questions that people are redoing their decks. I'm going with the same size that I have. I'm only rebuilding it. Do I need a permit?
Yeah, so our ordinance does state that replacing does require a permit. What we normally tell them is maintenance. So if you're just doing like the deck boards on top, we would consider that maintenance, not repairing. But if they're going to be touching any of the structural components, like redoing the posts and everything, then we would require a.
Okay.
In shoreline.
That makes sense.
That isn't in general though, is it? Is it in all of the districts?
No, I mean,
Shoreline.
the definitions, I think, would be the same and even general
Okay.
for that.
Just so that's clear to me.
Because that's usually when they're redoing, that's what they're doing.
Well, a lot of them, yeah. I mean, it depends. Some of them
Some of them
taking
are
out the whole
completely
stuff
rotten,
and putting
yeah.
up,
All
brand new, or they're just replacing the deck boards or, I'm like, well, you know what? I'm just gonna give you the zoning office. You can let them tell you.
Yeah,
I don't want to be a bad guy.
You don't want them to say Tracy.
Like, no. I think sounds like a
Dead.
screen board. And a good liaison, yeah. Yeah.
All right. Everybody feel comfortable with that one then being moved there?
Yeah.
Okay.
then I think the only other thing I did have two other things. The one was, Claire, if you could please pull up where it says solar fee and ordinance. So we did have a solar permit that was at a conditional use permit. I forget exactly, last year sometime, I believe. So they finally are, getting all their things together to start on that. So if we scroll down, question comes into the fee once we got to that point, and in the ordinance that was approved, probably pretty close to the bottom. This is one of the sections in the renewable energy ordinance. So it says the application for a land use permit, which they have to come get after the conditional use hearing permit, for a renewable energy system must be accompanied by the fee required for a permitted accessory use. And we really don't have anything on our fee schedule for a permitted accessory use. We have accessory structures, we have conditional use permits. So I think it would be best to clear things up to have a permitted accessory use as I show there. And then I did put in parentheses solar, because as far as I know, that would be the only thing that we would consider a permitted accessory use.
Okay,
And I did have a document that I pulled from a few counties that had examples as well, just for ideas of how we want to do that fee. Or I didn't remember, or didn't know if you guys remembered when that was discussed, if you guys knew what that fee meant, but there's nothing that really references that. So wasn't clear to me what the fee should be.
I think when we discussed that with Polk Burnett when they were here, we were trying to decide the scale and the sizes and to break it down by that is what we were doing. Up to 100 megawatt would be a one that we have no control over.
Claire, can you bring up the document that Logan mentioned?
Yeah,
Yeah, the solar fees. So
so I don't think we really set a fee after
like, so
discussing.
the county they have a split up residential or commercial. They have their commercial solar facility fee at $1,155. Next one, Grant County they charge based on the cost of project, which so did Columbia County. So that seemed to be kind of I'm trying to think if there was another one that did, and from talking to people, that sounds like kind of a consistent thing, the way that they're charging for them. So Grant County does $1 for every $1,000 of estimated project value up to 300,000, and then anything over that, it's $2 per $1,000 of project value. And Columbia County has a flat fee if it's less than $300,000 of 300,000. Oh yeah, dollars. So the permit fee would be $510. If it's over that, it's an additional $2 for every $1,000 of construction cost over that 300,000. And I didn't find any, but from conversations we've had at WCCA, I think there's some, and it may be Clark County, that do it based off of the size of the project, so like acreage. But I mean, everyone kind of does it a little different, so I don't know exactly what you guys think on that.
So before now, though, I mean, because there's projects going on all over, so we can't retroactively get fees for, so this is, so up and,
Forward.
this is something that we haven't addressed until now. Right?
Yeah, I mean, we've only had one new solar come in since this ordinance has been in place.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And we've had like the Apple River Solar, that's over that 100 megawatts, so that doesn't come through to this.
PSC.
Yeah,
handles
the
that.
public.
Oh,
Service
got it.
Commission.
So it's anything that's less than that ordinance applies to.
Got it. Okay,
And
thank you.
So the Georgetown one, I don't know if that got charged. That just went through a CUP then, didn't it?
that didn't do any, so that was prior to because that was like at the same time as the ordinance. And I think that was part of the discussion is we're already this far into it.
Yeah,
Yes.
Or we shouldn't have to follow it because we're not even, we're
Yeah.
almost done and this is just starting. So that one doesn't have any
No,
conditional.
one is just, right now is right
Yeah.
in their phases to start, yeah.
Yeah, so the Lux Solar, the one that's going in, they started it after the ordinance was
Yeah.
enacted. So they've gone through, they're the first ones to go through the process of
Sure.
the ordinance.
So are the pricing that you have right there, Logan, is that for commercial?
Yeah, I guess these ones, well, this one does say commercial and industrial. This one doesn't really state, as far as,
Because you do have the personal ones too, like people are putting on their barns, people are putting on,
Houses, yeah.
roofs all over. So I mean, those are the issues that we're seeing in the township, and there are several of them going up right now.
yeah, and as far as how we would handle those today is we would permit those as accessory structures, for a personal use. But yeah, it may be beneficial to also add commercial in there somewhere for this use fee.
That there's, yeah, that
because
there's,
when it gets up to be 300,000, that's commercial, that's getting.
Yeah, that's a
commercial,
commercial. So like, I'm not sure what the personal ones are, how expensive those are. I mean, I'm sure they're enough too. But
25 to
we're seeing
30,000.
a lot of
Yeah.
them
But
in our,
we get to pay that. That's, You know, that's the federal government, the free money pays for.
Yeah, there you go.
Well, so 2 questions. Do we need to include more than just solar there? What about windmills? What about, I'm just throwing it out there if we're doing it. And then if you're gonna put the solar under an accessory structure, should that include and then, be included in parentheses behind that? Because if I'm reading this, I'm gonna look at it and say, oh, I don't need to have a permit to do anything. Put up solar panels on whatever I want.
Yeah,
Yeah, and I think that it is distinguished in the ordinance itself. But yeah, the fee schedule is more of it doesn't break down as far as the ordinance would, as far as the ordinance stating that as solar, personal solar is an accessory structure. But yeah, I guess,
Commercial and that should be split, I would think.
Yeah,
yeah, and that makes more sense now as far as the split here. Cause most, or I would say probably all of, private solars are gonna be less than 300,000, I would guess, but that's just my guess. So then that's $1 per thousand. So I mean, if they did that's not gonna add up all that fast for a, personal system, you know what I mean, for $1 per $1,000. I guess I don't
There's the
know.
one you could just go like 100 or 100, like an accessory to a dwelling, the 150, 160, or keep it down.
Yeah, and that's where,
Keep it, reasonable.
So, but are the personal ones, they have to go through a permit if you're going, because that thing I'm looking
well,
at permitted.
apparently they're not, apparently.
Right, so if I want to put a panel on my roof, is that a permitted process?
You better do it quick.
I just,
no,
I mean,
it is addressed in the ordinance.
I know.
So we do have it distinguished between on the roof and on the ground.
Okay.
So if someone's putting an array on the ground, we consider that an accessory structure. So if they're gonna be putting, 5 rows, we don't count each panel, obviously, but each structure itself, we would count as $100 per array. Most personal ones are 1, maybe 2, not a whole lot, but that's where when we came into this one, it was, they had 78 different rows of panels because it's a commercial,
Yeah.
commercial solar field. But yeah, it may be something to, I don't know if you guys want to,
so would we add under accessory structures where we have walkways, retaining walls, decks, would we add personal solar panels there?
Wouldn't you add it as its own standalone?
Or its own standalone?
yeah, I mean, you could, but like those 3 things, honestly, we could even take all 3 of those things out. Those are just kind of examples. There's other things in our ordinance that are also fall under there. We not listing them out, but,
Okay.
so I mean, maybe it is more confusing to have it in there. Because then people don't think of like, I'm trying to think of other
As a clerk, I like it.
accessory structures that would fall under there, but.
Helpful as a consumer.
Well, sheds, what a storage shed, is that an accessory
That's
structure?
my opinion.
I do like
That's
that.
accessory building.
For the fee, those are, built.
Accessory building, 144, okay.
So for a permitted accessory use for the solar, so, I mean, Logan, are we really focusing on the larger scale? So we really need to set the fee. I mean, as far as staff recommendation, I guess? like-
Yeah, it would be for that, to have a fee for where it's specifically referenced in our process in the renewable energy ordinance. I think the personal's all covered in the other areas of the ordinance. But the main thing we're looking for is definitely where it's referencing this permitted accessory use fee, and we don't have a use fee for accessory use in here. We have a conditional use, commercial land use permits. I guess, I mean,
So
If it's energy instead of solar, it should be air or whatever. We should,
is it easiest just to start at, like, as far as like St. Croix County has $1,155? I mean, that seems like that would be the accessory use.
for commercial size.
yeah, I mean, I think cost based does make sense because the larger project you get, the more review time it's gonna take us. So a flat rate can be good, I guess, but also if you get these that are gonna be 80, 85, just below the 100, I mean, they're gonna be large projects. Like that one in Luck was only, what was that one?
That's only like 45 or 50, wasn't it?
I think it was less. I think it was only a few megawatts. I mean, it was like 15 acres.
Yeah, so then it's only about 15, about 1 an acre.
Yeah, so that we could have, 6 times the size on those, but
So looking at Grant County or Columbia County seems to make the most sense. Both of them focus on the 300,000 project value or less. So
That must have been about, but I mean, prices will change over
Right,
time.
right.
So that's not always good to do a price one.
Maybe it's megawatts.
we revisit it every year too. if
Yeah.
Things.
Oh, yeah, we do.
Right.
So, well, we can go up to 100 and then the state takes over. So,
100 megawatts, yeah.
yeah, so maybe put like 1,100 for anything less commercial to start with. I mean, we gotta start somewhere. Then personal ones, what? Like
Personal is covered, I think, already in
his
it.
personal covered.
Under
Okay.
accessory structures.
So that would be
Now,
the
would this
$100
cover-
fee.
Windmill farms, if there was more than one windmill. Is this,
Sorry, there's like two conversations
Yeah.
going on. I was
but I
answering.
mean, does our, we haven't had anybody in for a windmill farm because we don't have enough wind.
yeah, and I didn't pull up that section of the ordinance if that references an accessory use fee as well. I know this is specifically in the solar section,
Solar,
but
okay.
I would assume there should be something under wind as well of how
Okay.
it's handled, but
Cause each structure would be an accessory structure then. Okay.
yeah, I mean, they are definitely, as far as how the ordinance lays out all the requirements, I will be honest, it does take a lot of staff time. So I mean,
That's fair.
1,100's definitely not
It's only 50.
high by any means. It's I bet we definitely elapse that by far in a luck process. But again, we can.
We set
how
a
it
fee
goes.
and then have like, if it's over so many hours, set an hour rate too. What do you get an hour? Don't we have that if you have to like land in water?
That gets to be pretty hairy
Yeah.
though.
Yeah, if
Yeah.
you're gonna open these guys up for attack.
Yeah.
I mean,
Because then he could have worked on that a little faster, or she could have
Right.
done this a little different,
Right.
or I didn't ask for this.
The set fee is, I think, probably best practice
Okay.
right now. So, and we can, like I said, we revisit it every 12 months, so we can, if it's something
Something
that's
comes up.
crazy, we can certainly bring it back to the committee.
Sure.
at that time. That sound good, Logan?
What do we think then? The 1,100 about like St. Croix then? To be
Is that what it was in St. Croix? 11?
11:55.
1155.
Yeah, I'd round it.
I rounded it down.
Yeah.
What?
I went down to 1,100, said 1155.
Yeah, we saw, you should have went 1,200 then,
It is 5 over.
because it was over 5 over, yes, 5 over.
Okay. Will you suggest that? We'll see if it'll get it to work.
1,200,
Okay. What does everybody think? 1,100 or 12?
that's a motion, 1,200.
There's no motion, so it's consensus.
You said if I got another one to agree with me,
I agree with Tracy.
only once,
I agree with Tracy.
1,200,
What are we at?
1,200,
Even, I like even.
I like even.
1,200 it is.
What do you think? Well,
Score.
Well,
Well, I said it cost them more.
Yeah.
usually Anyway.
all right. And then we have to make sure it says commercial for that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Winner, winner, chicken dinner.
Yep.
This would be a question for Joe, the corporate counsel. There was a long article in the county's magazine and it was just brought up about the conditional use permit that we did for Luck. Logan said there's another one coming in. And it said that we had to be real careful that we weren't supposed to put any conditions on them because the state handles that. And it said, check with your corporate counsel.
So, when that permit, I don't want to talk in prospective terms. If something comes up when someone applies for the permit, I think that, ultimately we would definitely have a closed session where I can advise what you can, can't, should, shouldn't do. But, prospectively, I don't want to talk about something that hasn't even been requested yet. So it is something that will
I
definitely
just wonder
address when it
what
comes up.
the future.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
I read that too, yeah. Okay,
And then just a quick note on the biennial report fee that was removed and we're finding that, we're not sure why that was removed, but it is taking some staff time to go through those. So I'd like to add that back in.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any past knowledge of when those were removed and why. But we do still require it per our telecommunication ordinance that they must submit a biannual report that it kind of notifies us of any changes that have happened in the last 2 years, or, change of ownership, any change of communications, just to keep everything up to date on all of our tower information.
that might have been taken out because we have 6 of them and the county didn't want to do their own reports.
Oh,
Might have been.
You can maybe work with the communication supervisor on that report.
Yeah, because what do we have, 6 yet? We still have 6 towers that the county owns. Yeah.
And then Ed maybe wanted to just talk a little bit about our plat review fees. Ed, do you want to talk about those 3 under plat review? There's a few changes in here, kind of mimicking more some of what other counties do. Go ahead, Ed.
Yeah, I just want to look at the review fee. We'll leave a certified survey map alone. Certified survey map and the plat, but the review of the legal descriptions that go along with parcels that are adjusting property lines between adjoiners, they were set at $450. And I know that when I discussed that with Steve, part of the reasoning was to kind of encourage people to do a certified survey map, which was reviewed exempt fee. So I think the fee is a little high, and I'd rather just go down to like a $75 review fee. A letter will be sent out to all of the or majority of the attorneys that do the majority of work in Polk County and title companies saying, here's the rule. You need to submit an application and your preliminary deed for a review so we can nip a lot of things in the bud before they get recorded and then they get caught by Paula down at the real property lister. So I'd like to go to that $75 review fee for that. And then the easements, we had at $450. And again, that's something else that they just kind of get recorded and we don't, by the time you get to them, it's like, okay, now what are we doing with this? Again, we would submit a letter along with previous one, saying here, when you were drafting an easement, it needs to have the application review or subdivision application, along with the review fee. And we'll just need to be a little more vigilant about staying on top of that, even after they're recorded, writing them a letter saying, hey, you need to follow these rules. And again, I think $450 again was a little over the top because it doesn't take more than typically a half an hour to review the legal description. Sometimes if they're really lengthy, they can, maybe an hour to make sure that they are doing what they're supposed to do. So that's what I've got going there.
Yeah, and I think does Barron County use the similar review process, Ed?
Yeah.
And
yeah.
the thing about the $450 review is it's people are just bypassing it and getting around it. So making it a little bit more amicable to the professionals that work in the business. And then, with Ed and the reach out, trying to get just compliance so that we don't have so many mistakes coming through to the real property lister, because then on the back end, it just takes hours and hours of fix.
Yeah, it bogs down and then it's chasing down
Right.
everybody.
Right.
And then we have a pile of things that are sitting in a red folder that we're waiting for corrections on, and just
Yeah.
slows everything down. And another thing, I would also send letters, those same exact letters out to the surveyors who, it's not their job, but they can at least make the landowner aware that this does need to happen so they can, relay that message to whoever attorney, if it's somebody out of the Twin Cities that doesn't work here or whatever. And hopefully, catch this stuff early on. And I spoke with Barron County and they have a lot of compliance. They don't have a lot of issues with it just because they only require a $40 review fee, which I think is rather cheap.
Their fees are low for everything.
Yeah, they are,
They are.
they are. But they have a lot of good compliance too, so. And I want to keep, the exempt CSMs, which are just, doing the lot line adjustment or maybe just replatting a real bad legal description. I just want to keep those review fees exempt, no review fee on those, because I want to encourage people, the surveyors or the landowners to have a CSM rated, because it's much better for everybody in the end. You have a nice clean legal description and it's none of this legal description plus 4 exceptions to it, so.
Yeah. Okay.
Yep.
Right.
All right, with that, the only other, so that's for the land information fee schedule. And the only other, so we have the forester here. He has one fee. And
I guess two, yeah, one for firewood, one for Christmas trees.
Yeah.
Christmas trees currently set at $2 a tree. Wanted to raise it to 5.
Oh,
Just
getting
for,
up there.
yeah, getting up there. She just, yeah, between paper and replacement of a tree, I thought 5 was a little more appropriate. I would say we sell less than 10 a year. But it got a little more popular last year, with phone calls, so just trying to capture at least a tree replacement cost and, for the permit, so.
How about the firewood? How much?
Firewood's at $8 a cord. It's same and consistent as the state DNR's permit per year, or Polk County or this area.
Sure.
So just kind of was gonna stay in line with that. So I don't think we need to do any kind of firewood. But yeah, my suggestion was just to raise from 2 to
The Christmas trees to 5.
Christmas trees, yeah. And if we start selling 500 a year, then it'll be a different question or a different, bring that up later.
marketing.
Yeah. But they're Charlie Brown trees, right? Theory, so they're not pruned and,
Yeah.
I want to encourage people to go out in the woods and find their little tree out there too. So I think it's a good thing.
Sure.
But
Okay.
yeah.
And your fee schedule, where does yours lie? Where's your, it's just kind of,
There was no copy or some formal, I mean, it's just because there's only the 2 things. I mean, it really
Verse 30 tells you how much it is.
wants to raise from $2 to $5 for Christmas trees. If you guys are good with that, that can be included in your motion.
So if you want Christmas trees, yeah, come to your farm.
Yeah,
yeah.
he's marketing right now. So with that, I mean, Chair,
I think we're good then to
We have to have a motion.
move this forward to get the budget going. Yeah, we better do this
I make a motion, we move this forward as discussed.
with the $5 Christmas tree.
Yes.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Did you make a
Second.
separate motion for Brent's?
No, she added it.
yeah.
I got her
That's
to
fine.
add it.
I get mixed up right.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, we got our fee schedule.
So then all of the departments are covered for fee schedule.
Okay.
Thank you.
Do we want to jump to 11
Sure.
before we get into some of this stuff? Because I think we get into
I
all
think the
these.
treasurer would probably appreciate that.
Is she here?
Yeah.
Oh, she is. She snuck in. You're not up on these ordinances, so you want
No.
to sit through it. Okay.
Yeah.
Basically, I'm just here to give a little bit of an update on the tax delinquent property status. So we are not anticipating taking any properties in the calendar year of 2025 at this point. My chief deputy, Elsa Thompson, has been working with Joe regarding ordinances, and it's just a lot of background work to get to that point. And with everything else going on, both in our office with new software and in Joe's office. It doesn't look like we're going to get to it in 2025. So right now, what we're looking at, we did send out notices to people telling them that we are, so we did get quite a few payments in, and we like to keep up on it on that end so that at least people are staying up on their payments. The other issue that I know that you guys are looking at was the amount that's in the tax deed held by the county account. So right now it's at 64,518. It's been that amount for 2020, about 2019, somewhere in there. So this amount goes back to possibly the 1920s, some of those numbers. When county was, at least the oldest records I can find, that we took some properties. Some of these numbers are very accurate in this account. Some are not. The account internally is broken down by 36 municipalities, and where there's a dollar amount in each municipality. The one that's probably closest is the town of Apple River, because it has the Woodley Dam, and that's a large amount. It's about 25,000. That amount at the very minimum will always be in that account, because we cannot wipe out this amount of the back taxes held by the county unless we sell the property. So because we're never going to be selling that property, we're always going to have at least a balance of 24, 20, 23, 24, whatever the exact dollar amount is in this account. We have at times gone into this background and tried to determine where these dollar amounts come from. Most of these dollar amounts were here when I started in 2002 or 3. I think 2003. David, the treasurer before me, kept quite accurate records. I've kept them online in an Excel spreadsheet since 2007. So a lot of the records that are more questionable are the ones prior to 1970. And frankly, in the last 10 years that the county's been parcel mapping, a lot of the parcels that we thought we had have pretty much kind of disappeared. So a lot of these numbers are in theory only. And what we need to do at some point, and we started to in 2021, and we just got about halfway through and ran out of time, and then stuff got busy again in the office when COVID kind of slowed down and we got back to working at full capacity, is we need to go back through and determine how much each of the internal accounts of the 36 accounts should have a dollar amount in them. And then we have to journal entry that out to a different account to write off that funds. It can't just be, it has to come out of somewhere. We can't just say, now we just have this much less money. We have to credit or debit it from some account. And so that's one of those things we'll be working on. Now that we have our new software, it'll probably get pushed up towards the top of the pile again. It got pushed down towards the bottom there for a while. And we do have a new person in our office. And so this will be something that she can work on once she gets more comfortable with all the new stuff. The nice thing about having a new person in when you have a new software is she only had one learning curve instead of 2 with the old software, and then again with the new software. So that's really helped her. But so we do plan to go through these accounts. Some of my municipalities say, the town of Laketown says there's a 0 balance. The town of Luck says there's a negative 795, which means at some point, someone took money out of that account, maybe, or took it out of that account line, maybe an error or some other thing. And so it's showing that we have, or they filled them out for less than taxes, something went wrong. So that's kind of what we're looking at, but a lot of the parcels just don't exist. We do have, besides the Apple River parcel, the only real parcel that we have is one in the town of Balsam Lake, and it is, it's all road right away. It's along 157th Avenue. It's pretty much worthless. There's no one you could sell it to. No one that would buy it anyway. I mean, you could always try, I guess, but it's pretty much pointless. It is about 3 acres, but it's only valued, or the tax amount that went to Lincoln was only $225. So between that and the Apple River Dam, those are pretty much our only 2 modern parcels that we currently own.
So we did sell the land around that, so that Woodley Dam one is a park, and we take that, roll that over into our Parks Division? So it would come off this?
I don't know that you can do that because it's delinquent land. I think it has to be, even if it's considered a park from the county perspective. I don't know if it can be transferred out of the tax delinquent perspective or from the legal standpoint. That's probably something Joe's gonna have to look into.
It would just make yours look better. I mean, because
Right.
we sold the rest. And if that's saved as a park or a parking place, you'd think we could roll it over.
Right.
Do we have, how many parcels? Remember we used to have them sales and stuff?
Right. We haven't had a sale since 2019.
Yep, since 2019.
I think it's 2019. Because we stopped, I don't think we had any sales during COVID. And then when the whole Axe information changed,
Yep.
we haven't done any since then, which has proven to be a positive actually in the long run. But we only have the Apple River parcel and then the town of Balsam Lake parcel that we show on our records of parcels that we've taken since I've been here, or the ones that we had on record prior to that that haven't been sold.
And
Because you guys went through pretty much everything.
so those 14 or 15 are just, were all the right of ways that were left,
Yep.
that we've got into one spot.
Yep.
So the only big one would be that Woodley. If we could transfer
Right.
that out, would really help. I mean, it would look
Right.
down here.
And like I said, there's very specific laws regarding tax foreclosed property, like you can't rent it. Which we found out, right, we're gonna look at renting land. But there's a lot of, it's very specific laid out what you can and cannot do. So we'll have,
Can we sell it to the forester for $1?
no, you can't, I don't think you can sell it. The forest department can sell it, but it still has to be known as tax foreclosed property up until the moment it's sold. I don't think we can sell it from one Polk County organization to another Polk County governmental unit. It's still taken originally by Polk County tax foreclosure, so it is under the umbrella of Polk County, a tax foreclosed property. That's what I'm thinking is going to be, but
So we could, if we would have sold it and bought it back.
we'd have to sell to some outside agency and then buy it back from them,
Yeah, okay.
so.
All right.
Kim, are you offering to buy it or what?
For $1, then I'll sell it back for $2 and make $1.
Now, even though it's taken after, way before, now we might have to sell it per the laws and have to go to public sale and be assessed at assessed value and,
Find the heirs.
yeah,
She
yeah,
lives right down the road.
yeah.
Yeah.
They've called me periodically over the last 20 years, so.
Yeah, so, I mean, they live right down the road yet, the gal that had it, yeah, so.
So that's about all there is for tax deed. So probably this fall, we'll come back kind of with an update over the legal stuff and kind of where we're at.
Okay. So it isn't, at least it's not in the millions like it was there for a while.
So just a quick question as far as parcels that have disappeared because now their road access disappeared?
Because it would have been a 40-acre parcel and they sold 5 acres, so they said they had 35, and then they sold 30 of those acres and they said they had 5, and then they sold 4.5 and they said they had half. But it turns out that they never had a full 40 to start with. So they were operating under a false starting number.
Yep.
And so when you came down, you ended up with 0, but there's still that half acre on the books. So as they did parcel mapping, a lot of those disappeared,
Sure, okay.
so.
A lot of the,
Yep, a lot of 40s aren't 40s, they're
No,
38.
they're 38.
You don't know if there's ever a 40 that's actually a 40, so. Yep.
yeah, then they forgot they didn't own to the center line of the road.
Yeah.
Right.
They sold it anyway.
Any other questions?
Oh, that helps a
Thank
lot.
you.
Thank you. All right. There, that helps us.
That is true.
How much do we want to dig in, everybody, into these ordinances? Do we want to just have like an overview? There's a lot here to read.
Yeah, there
And,
is.
But this table's almost big enough the way I laid mine out.
Yeah, really.
And
Yeah.
You gotta have this one too.
I know, I get my whole.
Are you saying you're not prepared? I know, but it almost seems non-negotiable.
Some of it.
The list is, these are the changes to be certified. Or you hammer this out again and we're
We
back.
can get to where the suggestions are the only ones we can
The
change.
suggestion list is
should we go-
tiny.
Yes, it is.
It's just interesting because the last time when we had did this, we had like 12 things that were on the list And now we have pages and pages. And, but it's a different person looking at it. So it's a different perspective.
Yeah.
And,
Well, the other one she had was 27.
well, 27. It
A page
wasn't,
and a half, but not 4 pages,
Oh.
yeah.
no.
Well, I'm just saying, how do we want to proceed? We want to go through, because like it says at the very end, we have to go through it and she's going to review it again.
Mhm.
Yeah.
You know, that do not schedule any public hearings till she looks at it again. But I mean, how many trees we gonna do and redo this? Is what I'm looking at.
That's what I mean. I know,
Yeah, I mean, it's,
150 pages there.
so do you want to say that we went to write it with these changes and just get the suggestions and go through that and then send it to them again? Is that what we're looking
Well,
at?
there's still,
They're non-negotiable. I mean, that, she's telling you that's what it takes to get it certified is those, all of those changes. And then
Great,
the
yeah.
suggested things, they're minor. I mean, what do we got? 1, 2, 3, 4, 6 things?
Tracy, the one thing that didn't appear to me to be, I mean, it's negotiable between the committee is like on boathouses.
Oh,
Would read her
with
comment.
that. Oh,
It says we should either make the boathouse smaller by a foot or
Oh,
setback
yeah.
smaller. And
By
I
a
say
by a
that make
foot.
the setback smaller. Because it was number, I was on page 33 on my computer, but I don't know where it is.
does that fall into play with?
It's page 33.
What?
It's page 33, in the shoreline. It's, either the setback or depth of boathouse will need to be reduced by 1 foot to meet
yeah,
Yeah,
G.
That kind of.
so basically, like Tracy said then, okay. That's all, you know, there isn't very much we can change. Do we want to just go down through the list? Do we want?
Think-
Should we just go through it quick?
Logan is prepared
Are
to
you
do.
prepared, Logan? To go down through it?
Yeah, there's definitely gonna be some areas that she wanted to speak with me on, like those green definitions.
Okay.
So I don't have a ton of, I haven't met with her yet on that. If you want to know how those are being used, because that kind of depends on what, you know, just to make sure we're not definitioning something out of how we're supposed to be doing it. But, and then I think there was a couple other sections that she wanted to speak with me on. So I think, yeah,
Should
If
we
we go
get some of
through
that
this and you guys-
before we go through it? I mean, we can wait, we got. One thing, is, does he get all that so we can rewrite it once and not have,
Get the definitions, the green.
get the green, get her stuff in there? And then do we just set a meeting up to sit and go through it?
that sounds,
You know what I'm thinking? And then the people that can come and make it a little less informal. And do that before a public hearing. That might help us a little bit.
yeah, so I could come up with a, you know, all the required, and then those can all be
They could be put in.
identified, you know, kind of like they are here, but
Yeah.
probably in a little bit, not with the, well, I don't know if you want the comments in there too, I guess, or they kind of are helpful in some stuff. But yeah, I can create a new document with the, you know, with all these changes incorporated or color, you know, some sort of color. So that way you can see it.
Maybe like a yellow or so, everybody's worried about all the different colors, but if you
Yellow's
mark,
hard to
it's
read.
marked. Yellow's hard to read. Green is really hard to read through.
Or
Cause yeah,
blue or something.
Blue, gray, whatever.
the difficult part is gonna be this ordinance that was sent was the one that has, you know, we've already kind of changed or proposed changes to. So it's like, I don't know if you guys wanna have the original that we have in our muni code with these showing. So then, you know, the public can see where it's actually changing from, or if we just wanna say, hey, this is where we're at. Now there's this set of changes,
There's a benefit of going from our current to this is where we have to go.
cause then you can definitely.
Because then you could definitely see the changes.
And-
I mean,
Yeah.
I'm not saying we won't have more pushback from that, but the fact is, this is what we currently have.
Mhm.
And this is what the DNR is saying that we must have.
Yeah.
So let's at least compare it. To me, you would want to compare point A to point B.
Yeah, and that made sense to me as well, because, yeah, through this document, I do have the document at whatever meeting we discussed that, that was color coded of DNR, our recommended
Yep.
this. But it's like that, it keeps evolving, so I think it is best to grab the first one and what we make after using this, and then you'll be able to, or anybody will be able to say, okay, where was it here? Okay, it's
Yeah,
on
right.
here. And that you can
Yeah.
go
In
that way.
places where it actually stuff just got moved, just say this has been moved to 322.1 or
I
whatever.
think keep
Yeah.
it as simple as possible.
Right.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
overdo it with color, and this
Right.
is the original.
Yep.
And this is the new,
And here are the changes, both.
Yeah.
Yeah.
have something listed.
And we get down to the suggested ones, we can,
It's just.
just
hard-
suggestions. It's
Yeah,
hard
it's
to
just
change.
hard to put in there. Like, I like Mo was saying, like, here's the original. Here's where we're at. Here's, what the DNR is requiring, because like, when you talk about this has been moved to, I mean, like definition, like the whole thing has been moved around.
Right, but
To
they
meet the
they
model
have to have right, some
Yeah.
sort of crosswalk, because otherwise, like, you've taken this all out. Where is this?
Yeah, yeah, there's no definitions.
Yeah.
These, this hasn't changed, this has been moved. I mean, and I know you tried multiple different ways, like striking it and re-adding it, and,
Yeah.
I mean, it's
Yeah.
been a bit of a beast.
What do you, I mean, is it gonna even be possible to go from,
It's easiest for you, Logan.
yeah,
Yeah, I mean, I
think we'll try a couple versions just to see how it looks, so it's not, more confusing.
The
than
less
it is,
muddled,
more
the
confusing.
better.
I mean,
Because like when she puts, go to the model ordinance and take this, so then I would write, okay, I need to look at page 13 of the model
Right.
ordinance because
Yeah.
this is what she's saying going
And I had
here
those,
now.
and then flip to the old
Yeah.
and look
Yeah.
and, oh, God.
So I'm,
Yep, so,
so I've been making notes so I know where to look to see, okay.
and
this
it's
is
still
what-
confusing, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
because I had papers everywhere.
Yeah,
Flipping, yeah.
yeah, there's definitely no great way to do it. It's just how you guys think is gonna be.
Well, if we could get it down to a document that, they can either argue over or not. Here's the changes we have to get it approved.
she did put
And then-
one positive thing though about the drawing on the setbacks.
Yeah.
And that was what.
But he did it, but that was mine.
Yeah.
No,
We'll give you full credit for that.
thank you. I didn't actually draw
But
it.
did
It's just my
that come
suggestion.
from,
give full credit. for
didn't
that.
it come from, Prolon? Did he do that drawing?
Yeah, he did.
Yeah.
No,
Or
not that.
Chris.
specific
Sorry.
one.
That was already in there.
Not
No,
that
it was in the
specific
old.
one. Okay.
But
Okay.
diagrams are good, drawings are good, all that's helpful.
They do help.
I have a general question too, as she was going through this, or as I was going through this.
Yeah.
Is she basically saying that we cannot have different zoning within shoreland? Like zoning, and she kept saying you can't be more restrictive, you can't be more restrictive. So is that saying that some of these A5 and, some of the different, that those are not allowed?
So what I think she's saying is you can have zoning districts in your shoreline ordinance, but you can't have requirements in there that are more restrictive than what shoreline says. So like
Right,
some of these areas that say,
25 feet of height.
yeah, required,
They have,
when it says in egg 2 or something, 25-foot height max, she's like, if it's in your shoreland, the shoreline says 35 within
right.
75 feet.
so you
So
have,
that's where
But
it,
there's also the 20,000 foot square lot versus someplace else, you've got 5 acres,
yeah.
so those have to go as well.
Mhm. Yeah, where we have in our shoreland ordinance specifically that it says mining district is 5 acre minimum, we can't
Can't do
put that
that.
in our shoreline.
Right.
And that's where it kind of goes back to the whole zoning districts, being in the shoreland is definitely causing a lot of the issue, because if they were in the general, then that can be applied in the shoreland, in areas that the shoreland applies. So I mean,
Right.
and I want to talk to her about that to see, and I can talk with Joe about it to see if it is gonna make it a lot more clear, this is probably the time to sort that out, because I think I don't know, from what I can tell, it's like when we had our complete separate paper copies, like this is our comprehensive and this is our shoreland, it was a lot easier. And then when Muni Code kind of mingled it together, this is where we're definitely
That's-
getting
yep.
to the issues.
Cause they all have the match. See, that's where
Right.
I think we got out too far.
Yeah,
Because we did the 300 feet around the lake to protect the lakes.
that's mandated, yeah.
Yeah, that we did that 300 foot was the, no, that we put it in residential and you could zone out and all that to kind of help protect that.
Shoreline is still 1,000.
Yeah, but the first 300 is residential. Then after that, you can change it. But,
And if you're a town with your own zone.
then it's, yeah,
Well, but that's
Not for shoreline.
not for shoreline. So is the shoreline with 300 or is it 1,000?
it's 1,000.
Exactly.
Didn't you come back with a basic comment or this, all the comments are on here. I'll just read one. Looks like a word is missing. What is the meaning? Well, if you just wrote under that corrected, then we can just move on from that one. Or, you know, because a lot of it's word changing or,
Oh, and, yeah, and,
so
and,
we can just put them, they're done. It says remove map, maybe wrong setback. So just like you could put corrected under there and then we don't even have to look at it again.
Yeah, there is a lot that are, the changes aren't going to really change anything, you know,
Right.
countywide. It's just getting it so it's,
Where it's a capital D instead of a small D or
Yeah.
that kind of stuff.
so all those can definitely be made. And then, yeah, I can
Guess that'll-
try to, yeah, identify that that's been changed or.
You know, corrected change, just any word, but you just, and we won't have to necessarily because there was a lot of them that were, well, I don't want to say basic, but they were a little bit, you know.
Yep.
Right.
For sure.
well, there's a couple that just said add the word and,
Yeah,
you know, and stuff in places. So I mean, it would be,
So we're adding those things in and then doing the crosswalk from A to B. Is that what we're deciding? Like, we're gonna add the minor changes in that she's basically saying you have to make these changes.
Yeah.
yep,
And then we will still need to talk about the 6 suggested changes at some point. That will be at a later meeting.
The 6 suggested changes.
So
Oh,
basically, these are
yeah.
mandated, you have to do
That's
them.
suggested.
And then there's 6 suggested.
the worst one is the first one. That suggests zoning districts be moved to a separate section. So if we did that, that changes everything. That's
Yeah.
it again. So we gotta be careful which one we,
I'm getting.
Such as.
you know what I mean? Yeah.
So does suggestion to you mean you must consider or
No,
I think,
optional or?
they're optional.
yeah, I think probably half of them are probably to easier understand it from a reading standpoint, I think. And then the other ones are, yeah, just recommending, I think, for what they would,
Yeah, that could be different.
yeah. But I think,
But a strong suggestion.
Mhm.
I can't believe she put her cell phone number on here.
Oh, I know.
Looking at you, Kim.
Yeah. But I mean, the suggestions are, the only one that would kill us is that first one. If we change the districts in, no, that would be crazy, but
well, I think that part is just taking it out of the areas to be regulated.
oh,
And getting it down into greater restrictions. It sounds like she prefers it to be moved down to B.
It almost kind of sounds like you need to talk to her before you start doing anything.
Yeah. I think so, and get some of her, what she wants to talk to you.
Yeah, because that'll.
I think so,
some
yeah,
of The definitions that are highlighted.
that word,
Like-
like, yeah.
We call her and set an appointment up right now.
Why are those 24 sections reserved?
I have no idea, to be honest. I don't.
The mini code, there's all over it.
We did that. They did that with a lot of them
They
though.
did that with a lot. You'd be going and,
In case, it's
In case
easier
you
to
wanna
do
add.
that as a, yeah, placeholder instead of adding, like, I
Yeah,
don't know, there was a.
Instead of
minor
renumbering
reason
everything.
They did it.
'Cause I've got the big book and there's a lot of places that is.
Mhm.
done.
That comes up more than once in there.
Yeah, this isn't the only thing that we've reserved
Yeah,
spaces
correct.
for. It's like,
And the whole thing, yeah.
yeah.
Logan, do you need?
So,
Make sure you understand.
Yeah, I guess.
I mean, some of it you'll be able to, you know, where she's saying you need to take out these whole sections. In that one part where there's 3 different times, there's 3 different sections that have to come out and she's just saying reference whatever one,
reference the model, yeah.
yeah, reference the model. But it's the same thing. I mean, it's like 3 different things that are saying the same thing. Take them out and just reference this one thing.
She does that, yeah, even like on this one with the impervious surface, to change those and that.
I think before you do much, you need to talk to her, and then if I think there's any confusion, maybe you need to get a hold of Kim or somebody to carry on with what you do.
To see how we want to proceed or whatever, yeah.
So there's more, but I didn't see the 2 spots. Sure, 24 seconds.
There's more than.
Reserve.
Oh, yeah, she's got multiple.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's twice for sure.
Yeah.
I didn't see.
Why are there
I
20%?
just saw the first.
Why are there 20% sections of her? Why are these things are-
It's like in 3 different places,
No, it just bothers her. So she had,
if I
Yeah.
remember.
Yeah.
these reserved.
Like,
Yeah,
In the mini code, I think it's done that in every one of
It
our
is.
deals.
It's-
It's in there.
we need to make sure we
Serve quite a bit.
understand. Expect.
Okay, do we think we got a pretty good understanding of how we're gonna move forward on?
Yeah, I mean, so are we going away from the original to propose changes and just getting more information for now? Or do you want me to incorporate my discussion with Sue into those proposed changes and indicate?
I want you to, yeah, I think we need the old one for sure. And then if you talk to her and those changes, if she settles it, you know, those definitions or whatever, and
So-
put those, incorporate those in there and
So the
then. mark
green
the
things
change.
he'll have to discuss with her and get
Yes.
clarification. And then what do you expect for him to do with the other things that she's saying are required?
Put in there.
Okay, put in,
I would think put that all in there so we can see what the changes are.
and then try to,
See what it looks like in text.
okay, I just want
Because
to.
otherwise we're-
Because we'll get chastised what we do or what we don't do or whatever. So, and then are we gonna
We're in
do,
government. We will do it that way no matter what.
are we gonna crosswalk from the old to the new then, right?
Yes.
That's what, okay.
So is it easier in his discussion with her, being as how she prepared this and has everything in? I mean, can she just not place them in and send you the document as a completed? I mean, is that easier versus, because then nobody's saying we're making the changes?
I don't,
no, she's not gonna do,
Yeah.
not gonna do the work
no,
side of it.
she won't. I mean, because a lot of it's just changing a capital D to a small,
Yeah.
you know.
Just, the only reason I say that is because we've been scrutinized for the zoning staff making changes to documents that, you know what I'm saying? So
I think it's pretty clear that she's.
I'm just saying,
Yes, that's what I'm getting, that,
But we've got very clear.
that
Yeah,
all the staff came in and changed everything.
Yes.
And we're going, no, it isn't changed.
So-
Here's the DNR's letter.
you know, the source itself that
Yeah.
created it.
well, we have all that, which is
Yeah.
great.
Yeah.
And it's amazing to me. She must have checked a lot of kids. She must have been a teacher or something.
Yeah. So like, you know, where it says, why are the 24 sections reserved? That almost seems like a question that you need to go over with her. And then you may or may not have any action on it. You may just.
Yeah.
It's reserved for
Changes.
this,
Right.
If we change
for
things,
additions.
yeah.
Future additions.
For numbering.
And so there may not be any action on
Do you
that.
need 20?
Yeah.
But that's, I think it's 3 or 4 times.
It's 3 or 4
Yeah.
times.
On there.
It's at least twice.
Is there anything in there that is of questions that we, you know, that we as a committee have that could help him clarify with Sue?
I don't think there's things, I think from all our other meetings, when I look, that 1 foot on the boathouse, like Doug said, so, you know, pretty much our numbers didn't change. there was 100 in here a couple times. It's supposed to be 75, maybe got left from the old last 2 and 3 lakes, but otherwise I didn't see any numbers that we changed. Heights,
The lot sizes.
the
Some of
lot size, a little bit, but otherwise I think those numbers we've left alone pretty much. At least I didn't catch any. I mean, it gets to be a lot of reading and
Honestly,
switching
I don't
around.
think you're gonna have a thing for us at their next meeting, cause you're gonna have to talk to her, you're gonna have to put it together. And I think maybe it would be good to just discuss it at our July meeting, like, hey, this is where I'm at. Maybe get a status update of where you're at rather than a draft.
Unless it happens to happen, yeah. But
And then
we're
if
gonna
you've got
look. The July meeting might be on the second Wednesday instead of the first, on the second. July 2nd.
Second.
Well, if that, everybody's off that week and
Oh,
gone.
come on.
4th of July,
Really?
Friday.
Well, even if staff, if somebody's gone from staff, like if Logan is scheduled to be off and he gives a report on where we're at, or if we don't have a final, we can still do a status update.
Okay,
I mean, if that's okay with you, Kim, I mean, it's
Oh, yeah.
completely up
I'll
to
be
the
around on
committee.
the second. I can be around on the second. That's not, I'm just wondering if everybody else wants to be around. Nobody takes the week of the 4th off.
My busy
I'm just,
I got a
just
house
so that you
full
don't have
coming
to go
in
through
right
the
Oh,
after
you got
that.
the other one.
Yeah.
10 reams of paper every
Yeah.
time you do it.
And then we have
Maybe
it's
see
so
you-
busy, it's
Well,
really busy.
Cause you're gonna come up with more questions as you go through it and as you answer questions and discuss with
Yeah,
her.
why
I
I
think-
you're the reserved. 4 times, yeah.
That's not
Is it
agree.
4?
Yeah. Times.
4 times that's
Agree.
it.
Yeah, just once.
Not now.
There was something else that was a lot of.
All right, are we good then? I can't. I think so.
Speaking.
There's-
Well, a lot of this is minor stuff that, minor little fixes that you can do, a word here, a word there. That's no
Yeah.
big deal.
I'm just more concerned making sure that we as staff can do the crosswalk from the A to the B and taking the time to do that. I
Yeah.
think you guys recognize it's just a lot.
It's a lot,
Oh,
but I
yeah.
think it's important.
It really is important.
Really.
So as long as you guys are okay with like a status update in July, we're also working through budget processes. You're gonna see, annual report budgets and things like that. So just,
Do you have any CUPs coming up?
we do.
Yep, that, McFeeder's one that was here for the rezone for the commercial, that will
Okay.
be July.
Yes. That'll be in July. So
Do we do a second in July for that one, or how many do we have?
I think that's the only one.
just
that-
that,
Oh, so then.
Yeah.
The second won't be too bad, really, of a meeting so far
yeah.
that we know of. Okay.
Yeah, on page 47 of the packet, that's a section that's probably going to, because that also isn't clear to me, where it says allowed uses by permit or conditional use permit.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
He's asking, how do you know
What-
what one you need? It
Yeah.
doesn't really say, so we're gonna have to try to do something with that section
That-
because it's definitely not.
List it out or something. You're gonna have to have a list or
So
something.
I think as you go through this with her and you have questions like that, you pull that page and just print the page, don't print everything else. And then have the discussion on that. These are items that you need clarity on.
Yeah, or if we get clarity, we just make sure that we note it clearly so that
Sure.
Yeah.
committee can try.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
And then she had questions where she wanted clarity on why it's
yeah.
this or that.
Yeah.
This is not gonna be a one-call process.
No. No.
Yeah, as part of,
It's-
you're saying as part of the update, kind of have, if we have that, just specific sections that are like,
Right.
okay, this is what we discussed.
Yeah.
This is what then will be.
Yep.
If you guys are approving of it, that discussion, we can then incorporate it into
Yeah.
when we finally make that.
Yeah.
Document.
You're gonna need to schedule a call a week with her for an hour.
Yeah,
Cause if you do much more than that, it's gonna kill you. So
yeah.
Yeah.
Well, you read it so much that some of it makes sense. And you read it again and it doesn't make sense. We did that with the policies.
Interpretation.
You'd read it the next day and you'd go like, I left that in. So I mean, that's how it happens. I think we pounded
Yeah.
too hard, so. Okay, Pretty good direction.
Yeah, I think I got direction to go.
It's not quite straight north, but almost.
Getting closer.
If we have any questions, there are a lot of people we can ask.
Yeah,
It'll be okay.
all right. Administrators update.
Yes, Mr.
We don't want to have too short of meetings now. People think there's something wrong at the end.
Right.
Going on.
Just for your information, coming to general government on their meeting will be the resolutions for lending or bonding that was approved for the 2025 budget. That's just another process we have to go through with an additional, when we do those loans, additional resolutions. Sales tax for May is still up overall for 2025, 5.9% from 24. The month of May was down from last May, 10%. We have 3 out of the 5 months that show a decrease in tax levy. So we're sales tax, so we're watching that really close with the budget cycle. So we're very conservative on our predictions right now as we're going through the budget process. We had a sheriff squad hit Sunday morning at 1 a.m. or 1:26 a.m. by UTV as they went through the
Was it?
town addresser or the village addresser. Some of the projects happening in Public Works, the repairs to the Atlas Dam are out for bid finally. That's been a 5-year project, trying to get that through DNR process. Clam Falls, the actuators are on back order. Some of the critical culverts on County Road I that have that road posted down to 5 tons will be replaced this week. Bids for the grandstand are gonna be extended out until June 12th, and the bid opening will be June 17th for the grandstand.
Will they have that done by the time, they won't have that done for the fair?
It's not scheduled for this year's fair. It'll be done by next year's fair.
Maybe,
We hope.
maybe.
Documentation.
We hope. So, currently, we're up to 5 fatalities on our highways, this year. Highway projects continue, for paving on County Road F, B, E, and double M on the next couple months. And the sheriff's announced a retirement of Mike Stoffel, which is the deputy sheriff, after 32 years.
Oh.
So besides that, we're knee deep in the budget and benefits and navigating that. So that's all I have for a report.
How much longer will they have all those road closed signs and stuff for the Frederick thing? I mean, it's crazy.
The Village of Frederick project. I'm not sure how long that project takes. I've never quite seen a detour that extensive, or I think they got paid by the sign.
It's the
Yeah,
craziest thing
I
I've
think
ever
so.
seen.
I think so.
Yeah.
Paid by the sign.
I mean, poor people that are kind of trying to go up north or something, they don't know where to go because it's so crazy.
It's like a 60-mile detour to go around
Yeah,
Yeah,
8 blocks of Frederick.
yeah.
Yeah,
and you can just,
We're in Frederick isn't bad.
I know highway gets a lot of calls on it, thinking it's a highway project, and the road is, the highway project actually to repave Frederick is not until like 2028.
Oh,
So it's still 3 years out, so.
They're preparing the highway.
The Village of Frederick is preparing for that project, but the utility lines.
I get my tanks out of Maiden Rock. They came all the way up 53, came across Spooner to get to Eureka instead of coming across Highway 108.
Wow.
really?
118 miles extra. That's what the Google thing did.
Oh, you're
I
kidding.
looked at the guy and I said, well, so he got up at 4 o'clock in the morning to get my tank.
Oh,
He went back and it was
Did he charge any about the mail?
not quite almost.
oh my heavens.
So I sent him back the other way and he goes, this, why would they do that? But that's when they put those signs up. That's what it does. So he had to go all the way over. He's over in Spooner. Came
Right
down,
across.
siren comes down. And I'm in Eureka.
Oh, my goodness.
He's 15 miles from, he drove down to Sinker Fall. He goes, cripes, I'm already halfway home from where I was.
Oh my God, that's unbelievable.
Wow.
So whoever set that up, the states, it's got the Northwest, whatever road deals, their detours are terrible.
Mhm.
Cause they got you going around Cumberland. You gotta go all over too. And oh my God.
We're not the only ones. Over Highway 8 over by Crandon that way.
Two is,
It's like a 60-mile detour over there too.
yeah,
Oh, God.
because they make you go on state highways, they
You
won't put
can't
you
go
on a
on town
county.
road.
highway.
Oh, that's
Can't
right.
go on town road
That's right.
Can't go on town road either.
for liabilities of breaking up the asphalt and repaving that road.
Wow.
Well, that's pretty
You can
wild.
drive in the town of Clayton roads. We like new roads.
It
You
helps.
just invite them over, don't you?
That would help them. Number 13, Sarah, any update? We kind of did all your updates.
We did. The only thing, Chair, is that we didn't really talk about, we talked mostly about the shoreline zoning. There were 0 changes to the general zoning that you have in your packet. But so that particular ordinance you can keep that copy so that the clerk doesn't have to
Yep.
make copies of that moving forward, okay? Your general zoning, that's stuff that you had already discussed and made changes to. There were a few minor changes in the subdivision ordinance, along with along with the fee schedule for the legal description review. Ed wanted to add some things into the subdivision ordinance as well. So Logan, do you have that up right there? I can just mention it quick, since we don't need to go back to that section. I'll just cover it in the director report. But in your pack, you can explain.
Yeah.
Okay, well, on page 65 and 64 and 65 are the red notes.
So yeah, we can. 64, you'll see that outlot is highlighted. Ed and I have had some discussions on this as far as exactly how to handle outlots. So I don't know. I guess I more of just wanted to get that on your radar. It's not completely clear, when someone says, well, I don't want this to be a buildable lot, I just want it to be an outlot. As far as how we're enforcing that, because I mean, the more outlots you create, obviously you're taking away areas that could be, buildable lots. So but there is areas that it makes sense, if there's only a certain small chunk left, which I think is the intent of an outlot. But there's really nothing outside of the shoreland area, because the shoreland has, doesn't distinguish outlot or not. It's just every lot has to meet those sizes. But yeah, one thing that I think we could clear up in the ordinance is how we enforce outlots.
Because some of them take them back out too,
Yeah,
to build on them.
if they have the correct size,
Yeah.
they could.
They take them in and outlot. Most of the outlets are the storm sewer ones and things like that.
Can you put a shed on an outlot, like a?
Yeah, I mean, that's
That's
where
where
the
that's-
definition says
That's
it's,
where the definitions weren't good and they did. Because we do have easements and put sewers on outlots.
But outlots were also created when they did line adjustments too.
Yes.
Because I
Oh,
happen
yeah.
to own a few outlots because of a line adjustment. So, I'm not saying I want to build on them, but if I was building, but that setback is a deal for if we're worried about, but that was also the idea of combining parcels. But I'm just saying that outlots are not just for sewers. I've seen outlots made for.
Yeah.
Oh, and
Lot
roadways.
line adjustments.
Yeah.
Yeah, roadways and plats and things, outlots are.
Because then a lot of times there's no ID owner on those.
We try to avoid
They
that.
try to dedicate it to the public. Nobody wants it and there it sits. Because you can still go through the GIS and find a lot of some of those yet.
yeah, so I mean, I guess as
So
far as
it's,
how we're doing it right now, we're doing it per the definitions. I mean, we are allowing accessory buildings on outlots as long as they don't require a private on-site wastewater treatment system like the definition states.
Can a
Um,
bunkhouse go on there then?
if they don't have a sewer,
Yeah, if they don't have a sewer, I guess.
so you could put a garage, a shed, or
But you can't put anything that requires a private,
to make it livable.
yeah.
So you
wastewater
can't
treatment.
put a dwelling on it.
What do we do when they do?
Yeah.
So that's where if it's, I haven't came up with the best, I guess,
Yeah.
option that I would recommend. Ed and I have discussed it. I can do a little more research into it and see, but I think usually it is something that's created to, like, like was mentioned, when land is kind of not lining up and then it just becomes an outlot. So then that ownership.
When
yeah.
things don't fit, yeah, and they realign everything, yeah. So,
Lazy. Could you put a building out there and have it connected to a sewer that's not on the outlot?
Yeah, I mean, and obviously traditionally outlots are non-buildable lots. They're just not buildable lots. So, I mean, that's the old
We tried
rod
to
and
sell 'em.
chains, old survey language. An outlot is really your,
10 years ago, we got that land back in St. Croix Falls, tried to sell the outlots, and it was for the storm pond, in St. Croix Falls, on top of the hill. Remember that?
Yeah.
We had to remind him they were storm ponds and he was trying to sell it.
And then the other
Uh,
highlighted version that's added from our past discussion is on 65 there. And that's just distinguishing between a state subdivision plat and a county subdivision plat, rather than before we just have it as a major subdivision definition. And we added in there, major subdivisions may require state DOA approval, because in the state language, and I think Ed is back here, so if he wants to clarify anything, but in the state language, they only require when a division creates 5 or more parcels that are 1.5 acres or less in size. So if somebody's creating 5 or more acre or lots or parcels that are greater than that, they don't have to go through that state subdivision plat. Would be a county subdivision plat. So that's more of just clarifying language. And then just below that, adding county to match in the number 2 below, recording a state or county subdivision plat. Because before it just said recording a state subdivision plat. But like I said, if it was greater than those acreages, it actually didn't even go to the state. So it's just kind of clarifying, helping language. So if a surveyor is reading this, or somebody that wants to split their land, they can, it's more clear on what they have to do, state versus county
I
plat.
kind of read earlier that the plat had to go to state for review. And if it's a county plat, there's really no reason that
It goes,
the time to go send it down the state.
okay. Yeah, that does get long, doesn't it?
Yeah,
Just
it's
send-
it's
yeah.
just another expense and time thing that's unnecessary.
Sure. Okay.
And the outlot thing, I'm sorry, I missed the outlot thing earlier. The other deal that seems to come about with the outlots is that it's somebody that's wanting to build a garage or shed. And they're buying it from somebody, but either there's not enough area to meet the lot standard of 1 acre. And so then outlot can go down to, 20,000, half acre or whatever. So that's why you see a lot of the outlots is because they can't get enough acreage to meet the lot standards of that 1 acre lot size.
Okay.
So just a FYI, that's what I see.
Yeah, and so it'd be either clarifying if outlots truly only want to be for open space use. And I mean, that's where it's kind of a stretch as far as saying accessory to open space use. If the intent was only ever to just be no buildings on these, they're just either sewers or, drainage ponds or stuff like that, no actual structures. Then that would, alleviate some of those issues where they don't have enough acreage to build their, or if they have, 0.4 acres and they want to put a accessory building on it. Right now, we're allowing those to be created as outlots, which there's pros and cons to that, I guess, but.
As long as it isn't livable right now is the way it kind of sits.
Yeah, and because
So
I mean,
they
then,
don't make a dwelling on a substandard lot.
and maybe they should not be allowed bunkhouses because of livable areas. So then only sheds.
Non-habitable.
You can turn that into a livable too.
Shelves. Yeah, but bunkhouse by the sheer definition is obviously for extra building space or extra sleeping
Yeah.
quarters and living space. So, yeah, I guess I haven't I'm sorry, I haven't processed this as much. It's just kind of what I'm first thinking about.
But then the whole definition is that they can't have the sanitary system.
Just on the.
Yeah.
Right,
Yes.
but you've seen,
So then you're stuck with just a living area, you know, or sleeping area, basically. But it's easy to,
People work around that too.
they do.
They do.
And if they ever do want to put a septic system in and everything, then they have to figure out to add that additional half an acre to get that outlot, change it to a lot, it may be the 1 acre minimum
Right.
lot size.
yeah, just fast forward 10 years when those people come in and they try to then sell them, they go to a realtor because they want to sell it as an individual dwelling. That's what we'll see. And then, just trying to, which, I mean, it's whatever the county, how they want to develop, but obviously outlots were not intended to be principal dwellings and moving that
Well,
forward.
then they want a variance.
They want to.
Because they won't meet the setbacks for a dwelling, they'll be 5 feet
Right,
from
so
one.
therein lies the
Instead of
problem. Yeah, you're, as from like the plumbing
Yeah.
standpoint, you would know what a nightmare it would be to try to, get some of those places on 0.2 acres, have a shed that now they're living on that want to try to develop that as a home. So that's just some of the things to try to think about as we're talking about outlots, but it would be a huge change. Like as you see some of the lakes that they develop a lot, outlots, backlots, they call them a lot of times, so that people can put up a shed. I mean, maybe that's okay, but maybe we need to be more specific on outlot development and what that looks like. Cause a shed, I don't
It's
know.
not just a shed anymore.
There's no sheds.
I was gonna say, there's some pretty nice back
Really nice
lots.
sheds, yeah, me too.
The farmers that have put offices in that now are living quarters.
That'll be developed.
2 stories, just in case.
Yeah, it's an ag building, so you don't need a.
I would say one other thing to think about, just in thinking through it, like, so yeah, if you get a lots on the lakeside and you have a road and then there's land across the road, like Ed had mentioned, a lot of people are looking to put these sheds over there. So one of the cons is being if we're allowing outlots for them just to put a shed on there, which we are right now, they're putting these smaller lots just to fit their building, to be across the road from their dwelling. Whereas you could say that it is taking up, you could be requiring those to be an acre, and then down the road, someone can actually put a dwelling and it's, more usable property. That person could keep it as a 1 acre and have their shed on it forever. But if somebody down the road, or if they want to sell it, it could be actually a buildable lot, which I feel would be more benefit to the county. But again, it's all kind of, that's where
But
a
a lot
lot
of
of these
my-
are coming up, is people
Which is
just,
good to get their sewers across the road from the lake too. But I mean, a lot of them, the house fills the lot.
But in
And
that,
then you gotta get a well in,
Yeah.
then you gotta get your sewer, and then you gotta
Yeah.
park, and everybody wants a shed. Yeah, but the worst thing is those lots, it's like when they buy a 40, put that shed in the corner, 10 feet from a lot line, 25 feet from the road. Now it doesn't meet the setback for a dwelling, but now they come and get a variance and wanna make it a hunting shack.
Yeah.
And we tell them ahead of time, you gotta be 25 feet from the sidelines, you gotta be this far. Nope, it's always gonna be a shed.
And soon you'll
Boom,
get.
they sell it,
variances.
boom, because all of a sudden the money is up. They're getting 15,000 an acre up here now. Holy man, people are selling.
Yeah, and soon you'll get the variance that requests then to turn the shed into a house on a substandard.
Or
lot.
to a bunkhouse.
Yeah.
Yeah.
and I mean, we do, we would allow somebody to use an outlot for their septic, for their house across the
Yeah.
road, and then they build a shed next to it, and I have a septic and the shed's right there. I mean, you kind of have everything that's right there for us. I mean, that's where there's so many.
Put that
yeah.
10-foot pipe in there to hook it up.
Yeah. So that's where, I mean, I don't,
Just, the outlot discussion is something to really think about.
Yeah.
And for future generations, it really is kind of a determining factor on how we're developing the county.
and it does come up quite
A lot.
frequently.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, because part of the problem on the shoreland though is you get the back lots. And that means more people on the lake if you're putting if you're putting houses on the back lots, then it's more boats on the lake, and that's something we didn't want to have happen.
Right. But then if it's a bunkhouse, are they renting that out? And
Yep.
and then
Yeah.
additional more people there as well. So it's just all things food for thought.
We always gotta think ahead. Seems like.
Because
we'll
there's
get ahead of
somebody
us.
that will have
Somebody will
already
get ahead
thought
of
of
us.
it.
Yeah, they're already doing it. All right.
What about page 67? That's red too. Did you want to look at that? That survey required?
Survey required.
Oh, yeah, we already had discussed that at that prior meeting.
Yeah,
I think, so you guys have the whole copy of all
yeah,
the,
that didn't change.
No.
That's- Okay,
at least I don't think it did that.
well, we just took that one section out, but I didn't think it changed again.
Those were all previous changes.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, those are from that last time, yeah.
that's all I have for my division update.
All right,
Sorry about the roundabout way.
all right. How about our, review of our work
Where
plan?
is it? At the end.
Budget development is July, but then you have a CUP coming too, you said?
Yeah.
Yep, and we'll give an update on where we're at with the process.
Then the update. And then put the forester on there
For the,
for, in case, yeah, put number 7, we'll just keep that open.
Yep.
And whatever else comes up. So we're gonna have the meeting on the 2nd yet then, okay. And we don't have to have a second meeting as of now.
There will be a rezone too that I'm,
Oh, there's a rezone too,
yeah,
okay.
I just, in the town of Milltown, there's
Yeah.
one.
commercial to residential.
And the rezones go pretty good usually. Okay. Okay,
Is there anybody that it wouldn't work for, Kim?
a what?
Is there anybody that it wouldn't work for the second?
Second work for you, Doug?
What's that?
Does the second work for you?
Still work for you, all right,
Yeah.
okay.
Okay.
I think. Guess all of us are gonna be around, so might as well have the meeting.
Yeah.
Might help, I mean. July or August, we might have to have that second meeting just to go through all this if we're caught up and have our public hearing and all that, because that I think we should just separate out completely then. When we do that, so, okay,
Or litigation?
I'm not sure, is there some updates?
We don't have to go into close for anything. The tax deed case, I can't remember if I told you this at the last meeting or when it happened, but it got removed to federal court, so it's no longer in Wisconsin State Circuit Court. That's the class action against all the counties and against the state on the tax deed stuff. That kind of goes into what Amanda was saying. We're looking at a little bit more direction from the state. I was hoping to get some kind of update before we start taking properties again on exactly what should not be done and what process we should be using and how really to effectuate these things. Like Amanda said, I'm working with her office to get that figured out. But in terms of just the tax deed case, it's in the federal court. I haven't gotten an update since it got removed. I know that Atolis Law, who's representing the counties, is testing a number of things, but one of the things they're contesting is the statute of limitations related to it. How far back are you looking, et cetera. I did have a chance to look at what potential case properties we took, and I think I told you this last time. There's very few here in Polk County, if any. Our process, even back then, I believe, was in compliance with what we were supposed to do. We may not really have it's very little exposure, I believe, if any, to Polk County. So that's a good thing. The Blue Rock Quarry briefing is all done on that in front of the circuit court. So now I think we have oral arguments in July. So that's what's going on there. There's not really any update other than all the documents have been filed from the parties that need to be filed. That's Stour, we haven't heard anything. There's a new case that just got filed last week. The Board of Adjustment heard a permit appeal 3 weeks ago, something to that effect, maybe a month ago, and now that is being appealed to the circuit court. That's not particularly substantive to this county or to your operations, but it's just something that's happening. We have another Board of Adjustment permit appeal tomorrow. Not a whole lot to know about that one either. That's all the cases I have written down. Anybody have any questions on anything else? I may or may not be able to answer it, but
You mentioned the one tomorrow. Is that what you said?
there's a Board of Adjustment
Deal tomorrow.
appeal on a permit denial tomorrow. Yep.
I just was thinking of the first one that's gonna be on.
So that's 2 permit appeals. We don't usually get a whole lot of those, but it's good. It's good practice for the Board of Adjustment.
They seem to be handling it well. though.
Yeah, I think they're doing fine. I did appoint or hire Tolis Law to represent the Board of Adjustment at the appeal tomorrow. The appeal earlier in May or in late May or in late April or early May, whenever the last appeal was, we had Attorney Pooperl out of St. Croix representing the Board of Adjustment. Normally, I represent the Board of Adjustment at their meetings, but in circumstances where there's an appeal where I may have advised the zoning administrator or the zoning department on certain things, because they're quasi judicial, not necessarily a conflict of interest, but there's potentially some due process issues there. So we appoint counsel out. It's unfortunate because it costs the county money then, but it's something that gives the applicants more due process than if I were to advise and then go and advise them on how they should rule. Basically be me making decisions for them twice, so. Or advising on how to.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Attorney Malone is representing the Board of Adjustment on that. If that also gets appealed to Circuit Court, then Attorney Malone may keep it, or if, depending on how they rule on the permit appeal, our office might take that back if our interests are aligned and there's no longer a conflict or any kind of issue with due process. So that's that.
Okay.
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Did they address the
Oh.
forestry stuff?
Yes,
They did? Okay.
I took it off.
All right, great.
Your second?
Second.
There. All those in favor say aye. Aye. We're adjourned.